Hey Cake Chums, and welcome back to another video. Now this isn't actually the video I was planning on shooting this week. I was hoping to have a special guest come in and film with me, but unfortunately she is a bit poorly. So we have agreed to postpone to another date. Get well soon, Vicky. And instead I'm going to be doing something that I've kind of been keeping in my back pocket for a while, just in case I needed a last minute video idea. And that is an Ask Me Anything. Now if you're somebody who watches a lot of YouTube, you'll have probably seen these a gazillion times before. Basically, it's a chance for you guys to ask me any questions that you might have, and I answer them. Pretty self-explanatory, I guess. So without much further ado, let's get to the video. I'm gonna try not to notice how rough I'm looking today. A little bit too beardy. I think it's time for a trim. So, earlier this week I put up a question on my social media. My links are down in the description box below if you would like to become a Cake Chum. And basically I said if you could ask me one question, what would you ask? And you guys asked. So without much further ado, let's get to the questions. The first question, which came in on Facebook, is from Cara, and she asked, what is your biggest cake challenge to date? I think, to be honest, all cakes come with their own challenges. For me, definitely, if you ask me to do a really kind of like pristine, plain, white wedding cake with loads of sugar flowers on it, that would be incredibly challenging because that's not the sort of work I generally do. But similarly, you know, if a cake requires me to figure out an unusual structure or to perhaps try something I haven't done before, that's going to be challenging too. I think kind of taking all that into consideration, and in terms of like building structures and the size and the kind of the difficulties of transporting it and everything, the most challenging cake I've ever made would have to be my life-size Father Christmas cake for Cake International 2019. I do have a little video of that actually, so I'll pop a link up in the corner for you guys to check out. But basically, yeah, I made a life-size Father Christmas, sat on an armchair, and everything was edible. So the chair was made with brown sugar paste and sculpted from Rice Krispie treats. And then I sculpted Father Christmas from modelling chocolate, and there was just a lot of kind of parts that went into making him, and it just took a long time, a lot of long days. And then I had the dramas of actually getting him to Birmingham as well. So hugely challenging. But yeah, check out the video that I linked just a moment ago and have a look for yourself. Definitely challenging, and not one I'll be rushing to repeat, if I'm honest. Okay, the next question comes in from Cheryl, and she asks, is there any cake design that you've not been asked to make yet that is on your bucket list? Oh gosh. I'm quite lucky in that because I don't make cakes to order, most of the cakes I make tend to be the cakes that I want to make. Every now and then I will get asked to do a cake for, you know, one of my godchildren or a family member, and they might have a bit of design input on what they want. But for the most part, if I'm doing cakes for a video or for a competition, or just because I want to make them, I of course do get to choose them myself. That being said, a few years ago now, I did design a Disney princess cake for a friend that I never went on to make in the end. And it kind of had an item that represented each of the main Disney princesses. So it had like Cinderella's glass slipper, it had the rose in the canister from Beauty and the Beast, and it would have been amazing if I'd got to make it. But do you know what, I hadn't actually thought about that for a long time. Maybe now is the time to have a go at that cake. I think I've still got the design sketch that I did for it somewhere. If I manage to find it, I'll pop it in when I'm editing so you can have a look. But yeah, that's probably the number one. Bonnie asks, is there a cake design you fear most and hope never to have to make for someone? Linking back to what I said before, I think anything that involves a lot of sugar flowers would probably be the one I would be most fearful of. I have done my share of making sugar flowers. I've done, you know, I can do a passable rose, I've made lilies, I've made chrysanthemums, I've made my share of flowers, but I wouldn't say it's something that I naturally excel at, and I'm quite clumsy, so I've broken more than my fair share of sugar flowers as well. So I think if I had to create kind of an elaborate multi-tiered cake covered in sugar flowers, that would be the one that would give me the most anxiety. But, you know, it's the cakes like that, the cakes that do make you feel that element of fear, that tend to push you to improve your craft and to get better. So actually, you know, maybe I should challenge myself to do one like that. Gina asks, who would you love to work with? That's quite an open question. So again, because of the nature of the work I do, where I write and I make cakes and I go to events and I create YouTube videos, there's kind of like lots of different people and brands that I would love to work with, depending on the nature, I guess, of what we would do together. In terms of here on my channel, I would love, and I've talked about this already, I really am keen to get lots of my cake chums, my friends in the industry, to come in and shoot videos with me to kind of show off a bit more of what they do, and hopefully give you guys some like miniature kind of tutorials to learn some new skills. So I've talked about wanting to have Vicky Tether of the LOB Cake Company in to do some modelling. I'd love to have Emily Hankins in to come and show us how to paint with cocoa butter. I have actually shot a video with Zoe from Zoe's Fancy Cakes, which we're hoping to get up soon, but I'd love to do more work with her. To be honest, there are so many people I would love to film a video with. There are brands in the industry that I love using their products, and I've talked about them before, like Renshaw, PME, Charat, and I would be keen to do more work with them. When you found products that really do work for you, it's great to then develop relationships with the brands behind them, because, you know, it can benefit both of you. And then there are people that I would love to create with as well, maybe outside of YouTube, so perhaps to do more collaborations, whether a collaboration like my greatest showpiece cake that I did, gosh, a couple of years ago now, where lots of people came together to produce one cake. That was awesome, and I'd definitely like to do that again. I don't know, God, I'd like to work with everyone. There are so many amazingly talented people in this industry, and I'm so privileged that I get to know them and be friends with them, and any chance that I get to actually work with them creatively is fantastic. So if anyone would like to come and shoot a video with me in the Mr. Baker's Cakes kitchen, then head to the comments and let me know down below. Mary Kay asks, what kind of chocolate do you use? So I'm assuming you mean when I'm making things like chocolate ganache and things like that. And to be honest, I always use Sainsbury's own brand chocolate. Whether it's milk chocolate, dark chocolate or white chocolate, it's probably the one that's given me consistently the best results over the last however long it is that I've been baking and cake decorating. I'm not talking like the really cheap, like Basics one or whatever their kind of budget range is called, but like the bog standard Sainsbury's own brand labeled chocolate, I use it exclusively to make chocolate ganache, to make for tempering, to make chocolate decorations, chocolate buttercream, baking chocolate cakes, chocolate fondants, all of it Sainsbury's own brand chocolate. There you go. I'm sure other supermarket brands are available. Annabelle asks, do you prefer your job now, or did you prefer working as a primary school teacher? Well, Annabelle, I am still working as a primary school teacher. For those of you who possibly didn't know, yes, I am a primary school teacher by day and a cake writer, YouTube creator, blogger, everything else by night, and also some days. I actually went part-time from teaching in September, so I now work 3 days a week at school in the classroom, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday is when I tend to do most of my cakes, my cake work, and then Sunday, allegedly, I have a day off from both, but that never happens because I end up doing schoolwork and cake work on Sundays as well. And I also end up doing cake stuff in the evenings on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and sometimes schoolwork in the evenings on Thursday, Friday. So to be honest, it's a very delicate balancing act of both jobs, but I love both of them, so I don't think I could ever give one up in favour of the other. I'm very lucky to have found myself in a position where I can maintain this kind of dual life, and I'm very grateful to the people that have given me the opportunities that allow me to do that. But yes, Annabelle, no, definitely still teaching, still love teaching, still love working with children, and no plans to give up anytime soon. Emma asks, if you got married again, who would you get to make your cake? Now, I'm assuming we're talking about getting married again to the same person, as in renewing our vows, rather than, you know, getting divorced and getting married again. And I will be honest, this is something that I have given a lot of thought to. My husband and I are civil partnered, and we got civil partnered before marriage was legalised here in the UK. And so I have kind of just in the back of my mind over the last few years been thinking about whether we would do it again to get actually married, if that makes sense. And the thought of who I would get to make the cake has obviously been part of that thought process as well, because as I've already mentioned, I am lucky enough to be friends with a huge amount of incredibly talented cake artists. But therein lies the problem, because how do you choose just one person? Emma herself, who asked the question, is an incredible wedding cake maker. Her work is absolutely insanely amazing. And in fact, I will link her social media in the description box below so you can go and have a look, because her work is just flawless. It's like next level. And then you've also got people like Emily Hankins, who I've already mentioned, who does incredible painting on cakes, and I love everything that she does. Literally without fail, she'll post up a cake and I'll be like, oh, that's amazing. And then you've got people like my friend Zoe, who, although she doesn't really take orders anymore, does some fantastic wedding cakes. You've got people like my friend Nikki, who, one of my closest friends in the world of cake, and she makes beautiful wedding cakes. People like Callie Hopper, who is just literally a sorceress of cake. Everything she produces, whether it's sculpted, painted, or more traditional, is just insanely amazing. Emma Jane, just everything she makes I love. To be honest, this is probably the hardest question you could have asked, and I honestly don't know. I think I would need to have like a dessert table of cakes made by just everybody. Like everybody who wants to bring a cake can bring a cake. In fact, maybe I'll just have a cake-themed wedding where I only invite cake people and they will have to bring a cake as their gift. There you go. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have like 100 cakes at my wedding. I don't even eat cake. Etty asks, if you could make a cake for any celebrity, who would that be and what cake would you make? Well, these are really tricky questions. Oh gosh, I don't know. I have been, no judgment, I have been a massive fan of Kylie Minogue since I was about 3 years old, and have listened to her music religiously ever since I was a tiny child. I've seen her in concert so many times, and I think it would be quite awesome to make a cake for her. And in terms of what cake would I make? Oh gosh, talk about putting me on the spot. Possibly something that kind of like charted her career from the early days and Charlene and Neighbours right through to like her status now as basically this like global phenomenon that she is. And she is. I won't hear any comments to the opposite. Is that what I mean? But I don't know what that would look like, because I spend quite a lot of time planning my cake designs, and so therefore can't do it on the spot. But yeah, I think it would have to feature maybe some of her iconic looks from her various music videos. But yeah, I don't know. I think if I was going to make a cake for a celebrity, I'd want it to be someone who was quite like bright and loud and kind of had this larger than life personality that you could translate into cake. I think that would be amazing. Sam asks, can I come and live with you? You really wouldn't want to, Sam. My cakes are gradually taking over the entire house, and there really isn't actually room for people anymore, really. This room that we're in right now was the second bedroom in our house, so that's gone. I have an office next door in what would be the third bedroom, so there's no bed there either. And then we do have an extra room off the kitchen downstairs, but that is my other cake room that I used to film in before this one was finished. So you'd have to sleep in the shed. But if that sounds okay to you, then by all means, the more the merrier. But yes, cake has very much taken over our entire home. Vicky asks, who would you love to feature on your channel? Kind of already answered this question when somebody else asked who I'd like to work with. That being said, I already have plans for Vicky Tether of the Yellow Bee Cake Company to come in and do some modelling with us, as I've already mentioned. I have tentatively arranged for Natalie Porter to come in and do some work on colour and sugar flowers with us. I had discussions with Zoe Burmester of Sugar Street Studios about coming in and doing some kind of structured stuff. But if there are other cake artists that you would like to come in and film with me in the studio, then make sure to tag them on social media when I put this video on and let them know, or head down to the comments below and write their name and I can always get in touch with them. And fingers crossed, you never know, they might say yes. I've managed to cut the name off the person who asked this question, so I do apologise, but somebody has asked, if you could pick one cake show you've not been to yet and go, which would it be? Again, I'm very lucky that I have been able to travel kind of all over the UK and attend the UK cake shows. Other than the German show, which I do have a video on, and again I'll link it up in the corner, I haven't been to any shows outside of the UK. To be honest, this is, again, it's quite a tricky question because there are tons of shows that I would like to go to, so picking just one is quite hard. And also it requires me to remember what they're all called. If you'd asked me what last year or whenever it was, it probably would have been OSAS, or the Oklahoma Sugar Rush Show, hosted by Kerry Vincent, just because it seemed like such a big show, and I know it was a huge part of the cake calendar in the States. But of course that show has now finished, it doesn't happen anymore. So I think it's kind of a tie between either That Takes the Cake, I'm totally Googling the names of them, so That Takes the Cake, which is in Austin, Texas, in the States, or the International Cake Show Australia. I know that both of these shows are a huge deal to like cake artists in the States and cake artists in Australia respectively, and so I would love to be able to attend both of them. And if either of the shows would like to fly me out to check them out, quite happy to come along and cover them for the blog and YouTube and what have you, so have passport, will travel. I'm going to pick one more question, and if I didn't manage to get to your question, don't panic, I'm sure we can do another one of these soon. Vicky Tether, who was supposed to be here today, has asked, where do you want Mr Baker's Cakes to be in 5 years' time? And that is a stinker of a question to end on. Can I just say I don't know? 5 years ago, I had been decorating cakes for about, not even a year, probably 7-8 months. And I was having fun playing with icing sugar and ready to roll icing and things like that. But I hadn't really gone anywhere with it. So if you had said to me 5 years ago that in 5 years' time I would, be appearing at international cake shows and have my own cake-themed YouTube channel and be writing a weekly magazine all about cake and, have a top 10 rated cake decorating blog in the UK, I wouldn't have believed you. I've said numerous times in the past that I don't set New Year's resolutions in terms of cake, because every time I try and set myself a goal, I end up somehow racing past that goal, because this industry is just incredible, and my journey through this industry has just been far more, it's exceeded everything that I ever thought could happen. To go from somebody who literally just makes cakes at home for fun to be doing everything that I do now just seems crazy to me. It really, really does. And so to try and chart that journey and predict the next 5 years, I honestly don't know. I would love to still be doing my YouTube videos because I love this. I love this kind of this new type of creativity that I hadn't experimented with before. I would love to finally get to a point where I have a regular posting schedule and I'm able to stick to it. So having, you know, new and original content that goes up every Tuesday, having my video that goes up every Friday, having the magazine that goes up every Sunday. And I'd love to have more of that content coming from other people as well. I'm really keen that Mr. Baker's Cakes, the blog, almost becomes like a hub or a central resource for cake decorators, where they know that they can go and catch up on the latest news and information in the industry, where they can read interviews with people that they find inspiring in the industry, where they can get recipes, tutorials. So, you know, I would love for more of that content to come from other people in the industry, and almost I'm just sharing it. The magazine, I definitely would like to have more people working on that, because it's killer getting that done every week. But I do enjoy it, and I think it fills a gap that was there, you know, something that keeps us all up to date with what's going on. So I'd like to see that evolve somehow. I don't know how. But honestly, I don't know. I think I could sit here now and say I'd love to do more writing for other people in terms of magazines and articles. I'd love to do more television. But honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't want to kind of say things and cap myself. But similarly, I don't want to get too outlandish and end up with egg on my face. So there have been some amazing opportunities over the last 5 or so years. I hope there will continue to be amazing opportunities over the next 5 years. And to be honest, I just feel like I'm hanging on. And there is a cat in the studio and she's not supposed to be here. So this is Treacle, who is not supposed to come in the studio, and she knows that, don't you? Shall I give myself one goal? I would like to be in a position where I could travel around the world, meeting even more of you guys and attending even more cake shows and events, because that's probably the greatest pleasure I get from being in this industry, in the cake industry, is the people that I meet. So there you go. In 5 years' time, I would like to be in a position where I could comfortably travel as much as I would like to visit all these shows and events. Just popped her back out of the room. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap things up there, because I think you guys came up with some really quite juicy questions there actually, and it was quite interesting. It's made me think about some things that perhaps I hadn't thought about. But I do hope you enjoyed getting to know me a little bit better. And if there are any questions that you would have liked me to answer that I haven't, then feel free to head down to the comments and ask them there, and I will make sure that I kind of swing by in a while after the video goes up to answer them in text form instead. And if this video does prove popular, we can always come back and do another one in a few weeks' time. Now, just a little heads up, next week I will be uploading 2 videos. One on our usual upload day on Friday, but there will be another one going up slightly earlier in the week. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet, but it's going to be a good one, he says. So look out for those, and of course, if you haven't already subscribed to Mr. Baker's Cakes here on YouTube, make sure you do that now by hitting the red subscribe button down there on the right. If you want to get a notification when I do upload next week's videos, then you can also click on the bell icon, and that will make sure you get a notification every time I upload. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Take care.